Oh,
I'm down to 2.
okay. Well,
Hello.
hey, Jesus.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Nice.
Hey, Jesus, it's Dallas.
Hello, Dallas. I can see the picture that you have right there.
Yep, those are all my babies.
Oh my God.
What were their names?
The 2 that passed are Max, the very large one, the largest one. And the other one that passed away is the one who has the curled tongue right under my chin, the real small min pin. That was Scooter and Max.
Okay.
And the 2 that are still alive is sleeping on the chair right ahead is Bratwurst and Smokey.
That's a wonderful picture, by the way. It's really just gorgeous. You know.
A family portrait.
Yeah.
That's what my family became after my parents died.
Yeah.
No.
Dallas, where are you? I forgot.
Near Spokane, Washington, and Cheney.
Okay, all right. Oh, well, we're still a little bit early, but we can chat until it's time. And usually like to give at least a couple of minutes for people to start after 3 p.m. It's 2:57 according to my clock right here. So I hope Lynette also is able to connect.
Yeah, I think she'll be here.
Okay. How you doing, Ken?
I'm good. Yeah. Had a nice day. Went to the beach with my dog, although it was a bit chilly, actually.
I do gonna show up my kitty, by the way, if she allows me to. She's usually right here by my computer anyway. So, hello, how are you, Coy, Mr. Coy? You are muted, but I can. There you go.
Hello.
Hi, Coy. A little birdie told me that she was gonna tell you to see if you can join us.
Yes, Miss Kate.
I know, they were so sweet, right? We had an event before that involved a meal and just chatting, and we met a couple of wonderful ladies that they were really, I don't know, trying to do the good thing, like they say, right? How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bored.
I'm still in love with that piece of furniture that you have behind you. It's like every time I see it, it's just beautiful.
Thank you. It's from Pakistan.
Yeah. I really, really like it.
Now, you know, if you ever need to hypnotize him, put the camera on that.
I like the dogs, whoever you
are. So anyway, welcome. And we're just, again, like always, just allowing people to get inside. A couple of times before, I have put some music or something, but, you know, this time, let's just take it easy and relax. And by the way, I do want to, and I want to mention that before, I wish I had lots of them, but at the end of the conference, I guess of the event, whoever is interested, I'm gonna send one of these t-shirts to whoever is interested. It has just called HIV London Survivors right there, and we can have for everyone, but and we have it in different sizes and everything, so I can send it to people. If we're only a few, hey, why not? I might send it to everyone. Oh my God, look at you, Ken.
Yeah, yes.
What's that dog's name?
Kira. She's, there's Lynette.
There's Lynette. Hi, Lynette. Okay, Lynette must be mute. Yes.
Thank you for doing this. I'm just finishing up my breakfast.
Breakfast with us. Next time we can do breakfast and our pet companions or something. And because in the last event, again, that I was talking to Coy about, we were able to get some money to provide meals. And the way that we were doing it, we would just call one of those delivery places, and they will deliver the meal to the person, and we will just get together and chat.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I think it was nice, right, Coy? What do you think about it?
I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was a very nice gesture and very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. And also you can just treat yourself to one nice meal and just, meet new people, see some of the old faces. So anyways, again, it's still early, so let's give it 4 or 5 minutes. How is everybody's health? How you doing, Dallas?
I'm doing good. My CD4 count last was 600 and my T cells were 600 and the viral load was 1,200.
Okay.
So very good after 25 years.
Nicholas! We had this wonderful friend that he just came to visit me in a road trip right here too. I was asking about your health, guys, because I'm sorry, I get excited when I see new people again and old friends. And hey, here's the people coming. We are getting Zio. And by the way, Zio is an amazing woman besides all other things. But she also has a lot of babies that she's very proud of. And she's going to also try to help us in case if we need some moderation or, again, if it's a small group, sometimes it's easier to manage it. But if we get a larger crowd, then we can, start to check out time and things like that. But the reason that I was asking you about your advice, and I always like to do that, Santos is joining us, welcome. It's because, again, sometimes I'm thinking, especially in these days, we don't get too much people asking us how you're doing today. At the beginning of COVID-19, many of the agencies and organizations used to call us more often and check on us. And for what I keep seeing with many of the people in our community, sometimes that's not happening too often. But here we are. And how's your health, Lynette, by the way?
Oh, everything is good here. My husband had a stroke. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
He had that in November of 2019. So the COVID has been very good for us because I can be home with him all the time, and his mind is fine. So we write papers, and I'm here to help him with still working on his walking and his balance. So that's a slow process for him.
All right.
But it's all good for us. We're happy.
Yeah. And Zio, I like to check on you too, because I know that you're a mother and you work and you have your babies and all the whole thing. How you doing today? I think you're muted, baby. There you go.
You're still muted.
Zio, you're still muted. Let's see, she can talk anyway. But what she's trying to see how she unmutes herself, and maybe I can try to do it myself from here, but let's see. Participants. Hold on 1 second. And let's start officially with this Zio. Yeah, Zio, you can hear us, right? How? Might be something else in your computer, maybe, because you are, but we're fine. So anyway, let's start officially with this, that it really means a lot to me. I've been part of a few surveys lately, and to talk about the animal-human bond that we have, and that many times is not acknowledged in many other surveys or studies, especially in many of the lives of people that they are HIV long-term survivors or members of the LGBTQ community, or many people that they live with chronic health issues. I think it's a mistake to don't acknowledge this part of our lives. I can hear you, Zio. Can I hear you
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My new cell phone case, my new cell phone case covers my microphone apparently.
Yeah, and it's, even your voice right now sounds a little bit gurgly. But anyway, I'm terribly excited. And one of the things, again, if you want to show up your babies, show them today, because I'm going to do that. Again, I'm going to be bringing my kitty, Mija. But again, I am very honored to have not only our pet companions as guests today, or they are the main thing today. We are the guests. But I'm very honored to have today a couple of wonderful people that I'm learning more and more of the things that they have done and do for our communities. And we have with us Dr. Ken Gorczyca. That you can pronounce your name again for me anytime.
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Because I understand what it is, because I always get the whole Jesus thing. So Dr. Gorczyca is a founding veterinarian and
Please.
An education director for Pets Are a Wonderful Support, PAWS. PAWS is a place that I'm very thankful to in my life, because not in too many places in the country or in the world, they help those beautiful entities that they are our pet companions in our lives with, things from food that they need to also to visits to the veterinarian, et cetera, et cetera. One of the elements also that Ken, I usually call him Ken, he's also part of and has been doing a lot of advocacy work in the Lesbian and Gay Veterinary Medical Association. And I think that's very important. And also we have with us Lynette Hart, that she's a professor of human-animal interactions. So if you guys have any questions for her, also please, anytime. She has been teaching animal behavior at UC Davis and the School of Veterinary Animal Behavior. She has been publishing articles for over 100 papers or so. And of course, I forgot also with Ken, but they also have their pet companions. So, so Ken, would you like to?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to join in. Thank you, Jesus, for organizing this. I first met you back at Davis when we premiered the movie Last Man Standing. And so that was really a powerful introduction up at Davis to the veterinary students. And I know that Lynette was there, and we both were just in awe of all the of the people that were in the film, and the power that the human-animal bond had in their lives. And so I'm really glad to be working with you again. I'll just give you a quick history of myself, and I graduated in 1983 at UC Davis as a veterinarian, and started working in San Francisco in 1984, right at the dawn of the AIDS pandemic. And so I was a young veterinarian, and all of a sudden I was put into this pandemic, and there was the first couple of years, as we all know, we didn't really know what caused it, and so there was a lot of fears, and there was a lot of fears around animal companions, and that's where I got involved, because as a veterinarian, I knew the power of animal companionship, and I knew that people were not going to be giving up pets for almost any reason, and so we needed to educate and find out about these things, about zoonosis, and it turns out they weren't a risk, but there was just a lot of misinformation. And I met Lynette Hart actually in my in one of my, I think my behavior class, and she was my professor. And I remember specifically one lecture where she showed a slide or a study of a person sitting in a wheelchair, and they did a study out in the public sphere where the person had a pet and where they didn't have a pet. And this was one of the first studies that showed that animals actually were a powerful force to bring people together. And so it was always my feeling that in this early AIDS pandemic, where people were being stigmatized and ostracized, that animals would play the same role. And And I became the founding veterinarian of Pets Are Wonderful Support, was the education director. And sure enough, through that organization, we found that volunteers would come to take care of a pet, but it turns out they got to know the person.
Yeah, I wonder, Ken, and that was coming to my mind, especially in the first years of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. Really, how many pets maybe they were abandoned or not taken care of?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look across you'd have to look at the world, but a lot of animals were abandoned. They were given to the local shelters. There was a large spike of abandoned animals. Just as in the COVID pandemic, early on, there was a lot of abandoned animals as well, like in China. And because people don't really know, they have fears, you know, and there was a lot of misinformation. And that was one of the things that PAWS did. We tried to minimize that abandonment, because we knew that the power of animal companionship was one of the, I believe one of the most powerful medicines we had for the first 15 years before we had any medical treatment. And I think it saved lives for sure. So I don't want to go on too long, because I know that we want to get back and focus on the pets.
We'll get back exactly, and this is about the conversation, guys. By the way, anytime that you want to interact, have a question, just put your hand up, or Sio's gonna try to help us right here. So just let's keep it going, and we can go back all the time to many of these things. So, would you like to introduce Lynette yourself?
Yeah. So I'll move on to Lynette, and then we can swing back in with other stories. I'm just really proud to see that Pets Are Wonderful Support is now part of Shanti, and it's one of the organizations that survived the AIDS pandemic. And I think that goes down to the power of animal companionship, because many of the organizations that were there in the beginning didn't make it. And so I think that that's really a tribute to the power of animal companionship. So Lynette, do you want to jump in a little bit?
Oh, sure. I'm going to go way back, because in the 50s, 1950s, late 50s, I was teaching in Atherton, Menlo Park Middle School, and two of my closest friends were gay men that we actually rode from, like I lived in Millbrae, that they lived in the city, and we drove together every day. So they were very close friends, and I taught there for a couple of years. And then later in the 60s, I moved to New Jersey for 15 years. So I lost track of them. And then I came back to California. And of course, I was always kind of looking for where they were and trying to get back in touch with them. And then also in 1985, I was in Rwanda, and that's just when people were talking about AIDS and where it had come from and the primates, and we were hearing about that in Rwanda. But anyway, I was always looking to see where these two special friends of mine were, Ron Rice and Jack Urey. And Jack had a beautiful apartment on Russian Hill. So we did go to this wonderful premiere of the film at UC Davis, and it was so powerful, especially because all of the featured men attended, and we had a chance to talk with them. So I mentioned my friends Jack and Ron to someone, one of the people who were featured. He said, "Oh, well, you need to look on the quilt index." And oh my gosh, sure enough, they were on the quilt. Oh my God. And, that was just so heartbreaking to me to think of what they had gone through. And Jack had his own square, but Ron was on a square with a whole bunch of names. It's like there was hardly anyone there. There was no one there to make a square for him. So for me, it's very heartbreaking. And it even touched me in various close ways like that. But I've always been so impressed with the work of PAWS, because society has so many vulnerable people. So many of my cohort, even people who are economically privileged, are really suffering because they're so lonely. And I think that the PAWS model is something that can work for all kinds of vulnerable people. It's just an ideal model. So I've always loved that. I put it into all of my talks. I tell people about the movie in my talks, and I just think we need to spread the word further about it.
Thank you. Going back a little bit to something, Ken, and then I want to really hear from all the people that they are with us today, and from your pets, your pet companions. I want to hear from them. But Ken, for people that don't know, can you say a little bit more about PAWS? How do PAWS work? Because this is a model, again, that it doesn't exist in many other places yet. You are muted, I think. Yes. Ken?
Sorry about that. Yeah, it was started in the mid 80s, and it originated in when people at San Francisco AIDS Food Bank realized that people were actually using their human rations to feed their pets. And so that was the beginning. My role was, I realized that there was a lot of misinformation about zoonotic diseases, or diseases you can catch from pets. And so I was working on that area, and we came together, and we realized that people needed other services, such as dog walking if they couldn't walk their dogs, or if they went into the hospital, which a lot of people did during those early days. We needed foster care help, and so the community stood up and did that. And so PAWS has now been around since that time. I don't know, it's like, how many years is that, 35 or 40? And eventually it got to a point where it merged with Shanti, because Shanti Project really is the human equivalent of what PAWS does. And so it was a perfect match. And so they still do similar programs. They also expanded from AIDS in around 2000 to other populations, people with cancer, people, homeless populations, and other vulnerable populations. So the model did expand. And I'm just really proud to see that the San Francisco community still supports this program. So that's the 2 cents.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really amazing to think again that it has been 40 years almost approximately from the HIV/AIDS pandemic, and some of the people right here, we've been there almost from the beginning. So I want to start again with the people that they visit us today and talk about really what what it means for them to have a pet companion. And I'm going to start by saying that myself, and that's another sometimes even sad and difficult question. This is my second kitty through my HIV pandemic. And my first kitty was Azúcar. And she gave me so much love, especially in some difficult times. And she died in a Christmas morning. She just waited for me to say goodbye. Literally, she was just like falling apart completely. And I just grabbed her in my arms, and she left. And then it took me a little while to get this other little thing that she's gonna come out around soon, and I will show it to you. Her name is Mija. But so I want to hear from you, Coy, if it's okay with you. What do having a pet companion, an animal companion in your life means? What kind of difference it makes in your life, or how it motivates you? I don't know. Whatever you want to tell us, Coy, that will be a beautiful thing, and I'm asking you to unmute, of course.
I recently, well, I've had a dog. I'm almost 60 years old, and I've had a dog pretty much my whole life. I recently euthanized a standard poodle I had for 14 years, and 24 hours later, I get a special needs 75-pound German Shepherd that has a lot of problems that I kind of, it's been overwhelming for me because he's not a dog that people can walk, or, you know, it's been it was something I did and I didn't think it through, and it's worked out just fine. But I think that it, you know, my connection with animals is far better than it is with human beings. And I really would, I spend 95%. I live alone. I used to be a psychotherapist, but I don't practice anymore, and I'm isolated. So I do feel a sense of loneliness that the dog really does give me. I think him needing to be so, I had to go to a behavioralist and find out how to work with the dog. Never had a dog where that had issues before. And, and I think the first year, I've had him about 4 years now. I think the first year I really questioned if I should keep him, but now I'm very grateful that I have him. But he is a challenge. It's 3 years, 3.5 years, and they still can't touch him at the vets. Wow. So, well, they're a vet, so they know what that's like. And that's very stressful because he needs shots, and, they've darted him like a wild animal and then put him to sleep. But that's $450 plus the rest of that's a lot of money that I don't have. And none of that I knew when I got him, obviously, what it was going to be like. But I'm at SPCA. I'm with behavioralists that deal specifically with dogs that have Rocky's issues. I find him to be very loving. He's incredibly sweet. He's very skittish, and he's very threatening when he's skittish, and that's not good for a big dog, because little dogs can do it and it's okay, but big dogs really get more attention, and it's just a really negative. And he attacked the mailman. I've had to go to court and file. It's just, he's been a handful, and but it's all worked out. I had dogs before him. I never had a dog that bit me. I never had a dog that bit other people. I've never had, but all that seemed, the more I restricted him to walks where there aren't, which good luck not finding skateboards in San Francisco or motorized little bikes, but I've managed to figure out areas to go that are less reactive for him. And a lot of it is he needs to be restricted. And I was exposing him like, oh, he needs socialization. Well, not really.
That will bring me also to a point that we have talked already, and it's very well known by now, guys, that one of the unintended consequences of COVID-19 is that humans, we are not taking good care of ourselves, and we're not doing the general health checkups and things like that. So we have to also think about then how this is affecting our pets, on how much are they getting their regular checkups or whatever they need, and also the stress that they see us stress out, how that affects us. So I want to invite to also talk a little bit to Zio, because Zio, besides again being one of the wonderful administrators in the HIV long-term survivors group and many other things around in the community, she just had an article in the PAWS magazine about relationships. And I was telling Zio, well, okay, how did that, it will be interesting to talk about what a difference, because I know you love your babies, and tell us who, and say, when I say your babies, who are your babies?
My babies, well, two of my babies are right here. You can see this guy sleeping down here. He's a Chihuahua Terrier. And then my big boy over here, you can see him.
Yeah.
It's Buddy. He's a black lab mixed with a dachshund. So he's very long, like a yard long, but he's only knee high because he has very short, stubby little legs. And my friend Ray, who is in the PAWS magazine article, it's funny because after my boyfriend died in 2016 and my dad died in 2017, I was at some medication presentation that they're talking about HIV meds. And each of the organizations, the ASOs in the area got up and said, had somebody speak. And I swear I felt like a spiritual connection, tap on my shoulder and say, go talk to this guy. And the guy turned out to be Ray. And I swear the person who tapped on my shoulder and said to go talk to him was my boyfriend who had died. And he knew that I was isolating myself at home in the grieving and everything else. And I needed to get out. I needed to connect. I needed to move forward with my advocacy and just reaching out to people. I went up to him and said, hey, Ray, you guys need a volunteer? And 4 years later, we're best friends. And it's funny because you look at him physically, you look at me physically, and we kind of look like male and female versions of each other. We have the short, spiky, silver hair. We both wear glasses. We're both overweight. You look at my daughter, looks at us, says, oh my God, Mom, you two are like boy and girl of the same thing. But we're friends. And then when Tim Murphy from PAWS magazine reached out to me, I knew Tim because the first time I ever spoke publicly about HIV, Tim Murphy and Sean McKenna were doing a World AIDS Day event in 2016. And that was the first time I ever spoke publicly about my HIV.
Okay. So your puppy has been going through with you through all this time? Your babies had been with you?
My Chihuahua has been with me since 2011. My Black Lab has been with me since 2014.
Okay.
And the third one is wandering around the house. Is actually officially my daughter's dog. She's a little black Pomeranian. Okay. Everybody loves them, looking at the three of them walking together because all three of them are black, but nothing of the same breed in any of them.
And I have seen some of your postings and you mentioned how much they mean to you, how much you love them. What kind of a difference they make in your life?
After my dad died and my boyfriend died, I was having like major anxiety going out in public. Mm-hmm. And my Chihuahua, who unlike most Chihuahuas is the calmest, chillest dog ever. He is the definition of a lap dog. The happiest place in his life is on my lap. And he has gone with me to GMHC for an 8-hour presentation and sat on my lap the entire presentation and not moved. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's a real dog. And I'm like, yeah, I thought you had a stuffed animal on your lap. He never moved. And I'm like, no, he's on my lap. He's happy. But having him there, people who are dog people will come up and talk to the dog, and it took the focus off of me, and it made it easier to get off my anxiety. Yeah. Just having a focus off of me. And it also got people to come up and say hello because they're dog people and I'm a dog person, so we had something to talk about. Yeah. And he really eased my way back into society after being isolated. And I was isolated because my dad was sick for 4 years and I took care of him at home. He was bedridden for 4 years. Yeah. So he's a definition of an emotional support animal. Absolutely.
I'm glad you have them, Theo, because sometimes I talk to you and we share a little bit of what's going on in our lives. Dallas, I know that you were talking to us a little bit before we started officially the event, but would you like to say something about what, I love the picture that you have right there. Would you like to say something about them now? And then,
I will share an experience I had with one of the dogs in the picture.
Yeah.
So the song that I shared in the comments was, it's called the Dog God Song. And it's the song that I played at 2 of my dog's funerals in the last year. And one of the 2 is the big one and the black one with the white face. And that dog gave me senses or vibes that something was wrong with my sick parents. Literally, there were situations where I can turn around and say the dog acted weird, so I did this. And there was a problem with one of my parents. So there was a connection with me and my pet that was so intense that even a look from the pet gave me alert, for good reason once I checked it. I think for my life, dogs are essential, as you can see in my family photo.
Yes.
I mean, when your family passes and all that remains is the family animal. Like, that's kind of intense. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, but that was hard. But I even had the vet bawling her eyes out because I literally just started crying when I was holding his paw as he passed. So, I mean, it's a very painful place to go, but it's so rewarding on the other end of that spectrum. That's all I have to share. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Lilis. Thank you. We have also in the people visiting us today, Mr. Harry Brooks, that I know for a long time. And by the way, of course, he was also in Last Man Standing, that this year we are celebrating, we're still alive, we're celebrating 5 years already of Last Man Standing. So Harry, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I saw the advertisement. I love Ken. I love what he does and the way PAWS work and all. So I thought I'll come in and listen into this and see what it's about. I did have one pet story that was connected with HIV and AIDS, and I had a Shanti client probably in the mid-late 80s, I would think, 86, 7, somewhere in there, and his name was Andrew. And when he couldn't get out of the house anymore, he decided to get a dog. And so he got this beautiful little dog, and his name was Ernie. And what I realized about it was that Andrew was losing, I mean, years later, I saw this in it. While it was going on, it was kind of a zoo. I mean, Andy was, you know, taking out a lot of frustration on Ernie. Not in a way that would break a bone or anything, you know, but constantly kind of chastising him for just being a dog or something. But well treated. I mean, it was kind of a weird situation, but it was like Ernie had volunteered from the gods to come here and allow Andy to have control over something, you know, because he had totally lost, he had been an opera conductor and had totally lost quite, you know, a career and stuff to AIDS. And so he was there with pneumocystis and things going on in his body. So it was very interesting. I don't have a pet myself. I have in the past, but I don't currently. And, but, you know, it's like I pay attention to. I love that other people have pets around me, you know, like the lady downstairs that has a little dog and stuff. So I get to play with it in the backyard and get support that way. And it really does support. And I get that whole concept even without having one. So yeah, it reminded me, because when I got on, I thought like, well, what dog story do I have? You know, I have some horrible ones from when I was stupid and young and, you know, would tie the dog up and stuff like that. But yeah, I remembered Ernie, and I remember how he served this man by allowing him to get a little of the anger out that he couldn't do with people. You know, I mean, he couldn't be rude like that with people, he felt. And Ernie lived through it. I mean, he ended up, you know, everybody felt sorry for Ernie. So when Andy passed away, some very wealthy person with the perfect situation and all adopted Ernie, who was a friend. So it all worked out well. But it is an amazing thing what our connection with dogs or cats primarily is. So
it's always great to see you, Harry, by the way. Anyway, you're looking great.
Thank you. Thank you. Doing well. Got my first shot. So next one I get next week. So I'll finish that. And yeah, hanging in there, doing well. Stay at home a lot in my bathrobe, just enjoying it.
By the way, I don't think I ever met you. Santos, would you like to participate a little bit here with us about pets or what you have? What I'm not even sure. Again, you have what do you have or
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm doing from my iPad. I don't know what happened to my system. But yes, I have to share, again, obviously being positive myself back since 2010. I recently, located in Las Vegas, I didn't realize how amazing my little boy, he's not with me now. And the only reason why, and I'll share that with you guys, but I'll share a picture, is my little guy. His name is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. His name is Dasher. He's just a little brown little dude. Yeah, so But I adopted him back about 5 years ago because I wanted to just have a companion, but I wanted to make sure that my purpose with my son was going to be something great. And so I had him be a service dog to learn to help with PTSD training, anyone that was suffering through PTSD. So I made him go to school. He was going to his little college. And it was such a great thing because he was doing so great with that. But at the same time, Daddy had a situation. I didn't realize that I was suffering with depression, and I didn't realize that I was suffering from and I have no problem sharing with you guys. We have one thing in common, and the only way we can conquer through the world is to be able to share and open up. And this is the best way for myself as well with my baby to help me. So unfortunately, back in 2020, with everything that's happening with the pandemic and the way that the world is going and Black Lives Matter and everything that was going on, I had reached a really dark point in my life. And the one thing is that I was able to train my puppy to do is to be able to see and detect distress. And I didn't realize that I had gone through a major breaking point with distress, dealing with abuse when I was a child, and also dealing with my HIV, how my partner had given it to me purposely, was a lot that weighed in. And I don't know if my little boy had detected this or whatever it may be, but I unfortunately, again, sharing this very openly, reached a really bad breaking point. And I broke down to the point that I didn't realize that my depression had gotten the best of me, and I had a failed attempt at suicide. But the only thing that made it a failed attempt was my little guy had caught my distress, and friends had caught on to what was going on, and I was reaching a really, really dark point. And all I remember was him doing everything he could to keep me awake, until authorities and friends and family could save me. So he was my guardian angel.
Yeah.
And what I had trained him, and what the companies that had trained him for PTSD didn't realize he was actually going to be helping Daddy in a really dark point, licking my face, even biting me to make sure that I stayed awake and I didn't go into a darker place. I know no one knows me, and I'm just, I'm a very open book in this because this is part of my journey to be the better person in my life. But I know that I've been blessed with him, because if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would be on this chat with you all today. And he had helped me realize of how much of a saving grace he was. And, he's a little rat terrier and everything. He's not with me now because Daddy has to get together and work on things and make sure. But what I did, I sent it with my roommate to Arizona, where there's other puppies there, so that way he can play and everything like that. But I just have everything to praise to him, because I really think he kept me going and made sure that I didn't hit a dark point and able to get the help that I needed. So.
Thank you, Santos. Like many times when I live with chronic pain, and many times when my pain is like, all the way up, and I start crying, and in my case, I get my kitties by my side, and she just suddenly meows, and she just gets by my side, and I just touch her, and she reminds me that there's someone that I need to take care of her, and I love that. All the way, I don't know which she's in Tijuana or San Diego, but we have a wonderful friend that I adore right here. Her name is Nicolette. And this bilingual advocate that she fights for people in Tijuana, San Diego, and everywhere else. Nicolette, are you able to talk to us from wherever you are at this point?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hi, baby. Yes, we hear you.
Yes. I'm outside on the street. I'm going towards Tijuana, actually. Yeah, I've had dogs in my life in Tijuana, rescue dogs.
Yeah.
And sometimes there were many that we had over there. And I can tell so many stories about the dogs and cats. But one in particular, she was the AIDS dog. Okay. Her name was Cristal, and she belonged to this trans woman who was a sex worker, and she was very ill with HIV, and she knew she was going to die, and so she gave that dog to this other person, trans also, who also was ill with HIV, and she thought she was gonna make it, but she didn't, and she left me the dog. And then therefore we had the dogs. There was another person who had HIV, trans also, and she took care of that dog, and she passed away also. And she wound up in the care of somebody else who had been deported. He had HIV, and he survived, but he had other issues, and left the dog with me, and where we had the other rescue dogs. But, and I'm sad to say this and all that, but you know, when there's too many dogs, not everyone's gonna get along. So she was hurt, and she eventually died. But she was with 5 different people with HIV. Wow. And as they passed away, she went from one to another person.
Oh baby, that's a story. That's a story. By the way, again, Nicolette, my God, if I mean, not to say it again, but this woman, she's like always helping. And I once I asked her to help someone also that needed help, and she's not the kind of person that just like, let me see. No, if she's gonna tell you she's gonna help you, she will help you. We also have right here someone that just visited me, and in this particular case, they're also scientists and they're writing papers about HIV and AIDS and everything else. But Nicholas, are you there listening?
Yes. I'm here.
Love you, okay, Nicholas. Hi, baby. Can you say something? I mean, I know you work with a lot of people. And I'm sure you have something, but also you have a couple of puppies. So tell us about that.
Sure. I mean, I agree that.
We hear you very softly.
Softly. Can you hear me better?
It's kind of soft, Mijo.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I'll get my headphones. I'll be right back.
Okay. While that happens, we also have one more guest right here. Raymond, are you there? Are you available, Raymond? Otherwise, what I want to go back to what Raymond and Nicholas really are with us. I want to go back to with Ken and Lisette, because this is Lynette. I'm sorry, Lynette. One class only that it was communication between humans and other animals. And in that class, we saw precisely, and I saw, Lynette, that you are a lot part of this. People talk about like, okay, yeah, I have a great communication with my pet, and I learned a lot in my class. But would you like to mention something about communication and really how, like, a couple of the people right here have talked to us about how it helped us while we're going through some event, something like that. Anything that you can tell us about that, Lynette?
Well, I thought it was really interesting when Coy was talking about all the challenges that he's had with Rocky, but it's still been worthwhile to him. So I would like to learn more about that because he's stayed with it. And now he's had Rocky for almost 4 years, still with challenges, but somehow it's worthwhile. It's a rewarding relationship. So it would be great to hear more about that from Coy.
When I when I first got him, I brought him home. It took 3 people to get him in my car. And he started ripping up the stairs as he was walking up them. And he opened up my refrigerator, ripped everything out of it. And I called them because I didn't know what to do with them. And I had euthanized a standard poodle that I'd had from 8 weeks old that had been pampered her whole life to this junkyard dog that was and then I tried putting him in a crate, and he chewed the whole side of his skin off and had to have emergency surgeries. He had 2 of them. And he was terrible with fighting and all that. And I guess what kept me going was I'm really not sure. I mean, I would like to say that there was this light bulb or something. I mean, I think that there was I always thought, oh, I'm going to help him and I'm going to get him more marketable. If I can't keep him, at least he'll be more marketable for somebody else. And it just never really worked out that where he's very attached to me. He minds me better than he minds anyone else. But he's the kind of dog, like I've always had dogs. If they pick something up off the street, I say no. I smack him in the nose. They drop whatever it is. This dog will bite you. I mean, you don't get to smack him in the nose or act like you're, angry and not. I mean, I don't hit animals, but I do smack them. I did smack my dogs on the nose when they did something, but this dog will bite me. So I've had to learn a very different way of engaging with him. He doesn't do well with anger or threats. If you are threatening to him, he will challenge you and he'll win because he's stronger and meaner. And it really taught me how to deal with my own aggression, I guess. And I had my own issues with it to begin with. Like I would take him to the parks and I was having horrible encounters with people because Rocky was attacking their dogs and I was getting him off, but they didn't want to deal with it. And now years later, people were actually quite nice to me and they let me in the parks. But Rocky does, but I think I saw a lot of myself in him where society, like I knew when I took him back to SPCA, this would have been the 5th time he'd been returned. Wow. And this time they were going to send him up north where they euthanize animals. And I just couldn't do it. Wow. I just couldn't do it. Wow. And I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Good thing. Go ahead.
And, but it really, for me, has, I have high blood pressure and I walk him 50, 60 minutes a day, twice a day, which is all the extra. He doesn't get to run like normal dogs because he doesn't behave where he can go to an off-leash park, unleashed and run because he'll attack other dogs. So he just doesn't have a place that he can do it outside of being in my apartment. But I think society, behavioralists weren't there. I mean, it cost a lot of money to get behavioralists for dogs. And
I think you got frozen, Coy.
$200, and that's SPCA. Oh. They cost a lot of money for not attorneys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For attorneys, actually, I had to get an. But
that's a very good point that we have to mention also, Lynette and Ken, about sometimes exactly how our pet companions are also maybe experiencing, what's going on through the HIV pandemic and now this pandemic. I think now we have Nicholas, okay, with the microphone, because I really would love you guys to hear a little bit of what they are doing also, but also, again, if they have seen anything about, the interaction of our pets in whatever they are doing. So, Nicholas.
Yeah, so you're curious, would you like me to share what we've been doing with our project first, and then...
Minutes, if you don't mind, and then
yeah.
I was lucky to
I can talk about the pets.
I was lucky to see them exactly with their puppies just a few days ago. It hasn't been that long. So a couple of minutes, if you will not mind, because I think maybe you in the near future, you're gonna be able maybe to include this part of it in whatever you're doing.
Sure. So I am an industrial organizational psychologist. So I'm a workplace psychologist, and I study diversity, equity, and inclusion. and how people leverage their identities to enact change in the world around them, but also how things happen outside of ourselves that impact us on a day-to-day basis. So it's this interplay between us and the world. In terms of this project, I got to know Jesus, I guess last year now, right? And we were working on a project in which we would like to talk to people who are living with HIV/AIDS, including long-term survivors, about how you experience your world, and for the first project, how you've built your work in a way that's generative and meaningful, and how that's created really powerful meaning and mastery in those spaces for your lives. So that's where we landed with the first project. We also have another project where we're proposing to organizations that they should adopt a trauma-informed care perspective to create trauma-informed management. So our second project is thinking about how we can reshape management and organizations to better support all types of people who are either internal stakeholders, so workers, or external stakeholders, people that these organizations are serving, such as clients. And on the pet side, I have 2 dogs now. They're both puggles. One of them actually was in a house fire and survived, but he's had some coughs since then that our vet isn't terribly concerned about. But he was very lucky that we had alarms and the neighbors opened the door, because we had just moved to a place and hadn't put a dog door in yet. And then the place tried to burn down on us. But certainly, I mean, I can say from personal experience that our pets are extremely important, especially now when we're not out in the world around others. One common thread I see in my work is that close others make a huge difference in our lives. So I think that directly applies to our animal companions that we foster and care for, and they do so much for us in return also.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to introduce him again, not only because of what he's doing also, but because also he can have a lot of interaction and influence in other young people, especially right now, that they are also getting to know what an HIV long-term survivor is, and the interaction with pets, etc. So bring you down, because we have maybe about 5 more minutes. A general question for you guys, and I don't know if anybody knows, but also the last thoughts, maybe from Lynette and Ken. Anybody knows if at the hospital with COVID-19, are they allowing pets to come in? Because I know that people are not allowed. Do anybody knows if pets are allowed?
Jesus, are you saying if someone is sick with COVID? Yes, you're supposed to, the rules are you treat them just like a person, and you separate the companion animals from the sick person, because dogs and cats can acquire COVID, but they don't get terribly sick, it looks like, and they don't give it to other people, but it's just the best way to keep them separate. Yeah. And I just want to mention one thing that I want before we finish about Santos, and I've heard so many stories about people's pets saving their lives at the moment of suicide. It's just unbelievable that these pets are so intuitive, and I think that also want to touch on that you can, I believe, communicate with your animals when you become intimately attached with them. You won't find it in science. You're not going to find studies that prove it. And I know in vet school they wouldn't talk about it probably, but the truth is I know it, and I think we all know it when we have our experiences with our pets, and they can tell you things if you listen, and it's been a real pleasure to be part of this. And so I'll let you go on, Jesus.
No, yeah, just before that, again, remember to stay in touch with Ken and Lynette, because they're coming with a few projects that we need to get to know and be interactive with them. So Lynette, any last thoughts about what you...
Oh, I just want to say thank you. This is such a rich experience. to hear people speaking from their heart about what their own lives are, their lives with their pets and how they've moved forward. So I surely hope you'll do this again.
Yes.
It's a real gift to the community.
It will be a number 2 and the must. I want to leave you guys also with something. When I went to take that class again of communication between humans and other animals, and this shows you how important this communication is. The first thing that we got is when we arrived to the classroom, the teacher was blind. So the first thing that he tells us is, please don't put your hand up. I will not see you, of course. So little people to me, make some noise, do something. But at the end, if you establish a communication with your pet and your companionship, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or feels. If you feel and know that communication, you have created that way. I can recognize the different meows in my kitty. And you can recognize if your pet is feeling you or he's sad, your puppy, and they feel also that from us. So no doubt that they are someone very close to us, even they feel things that we might never even know what they might be feeling. But I love you all, guys. It has been, again, just an hour. I think Zio wants to say something. Zio.
Did you know today, February 20th, is National Loving Your Pet Day?
Are you serious? Yay!
The perfect day to do this, didn't you? I didn't know that till this morning.
I didn't know that either. That's beautiful. But we have a lot to do again, and I got no idea how much our pets might be suffering to the COVID-19 too, because they feel our stress and everything else. But guys, thank you for all each one of you, do, and I hope it's not the last time, and hopefully next time. I was saying again that if anyone from here, just get in touch with me if somebody wants a t-shirt from the HIV long-term survivors. I will send it to you, no cost. I just want to send it to you guys, and just send me your address or whatever else. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, Zio, for helping us. Thank you, everybody else right here. Love you guys. Give a hug and a squeeze to your kitty or your cat from me today. And love you. And until soon. For HIV long-term survivors, UC Davis, we love you guys. Jesus Guillen.
Great. Thank you, Jesus. It's great. Love it.
Love you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.